Prince William took unprecedented official action. Bypassing the press office of Buckingham Palace entirely, the Prince of Wales issued a direct decree addressing the recent security breach at Sandringham estate involving Queen Camilla's son, Tom Parker Bowles. The statement from Kensington Palace made it immediately clear that the heritage of the Crown is not a private asset available for commercial transaction. Instead of waiting for King Charles to manage the crisis internally, Prince William took immediate executive action. The official communication dispatched to major news outlets did not use diplomatic phrasing to minimize the event. It established a definitive legal boundary. The document explicitly stated that the heritage of the Crown is not a private asset available for commercial transaction. This decree effectively dismantles any internal palace efforts to dismiss the midnight intrusion as a simple scheduling error or a routine architectural audit. Sources close to the drafting process at Kensington Palace confirm that the Prince of Wales personally rejected multiple lenient drafts presented by his advisory team. When advised to handle the matter quietly to preserve family unity, William reportedly instructed his senior staff with absolute clarity, stating, "There will be no exemptions. We are not hiding this. The integrity of the institution comes before any personal connection, and absolutely no individual is above the law." This confirms the future king is treating the commercial exploitation of Sandringham strictly as a severe breach of national security. The most critical operational element of this morning's decree is the permanent revocation of high-level administrative access. This is a highly targeted security measure. By restricting estate clearance exclusively to those with verified constitutional roles, William has disabled the digital infrastructure previously utilized by the Queen Consort's office. The forensic investigation into the events of the 14th of May revealed that security overrides were initiated from a terminal inside Buckingham Palace. These overrides created a blind spot, allowing 3 unmarked production vans to bypass Sandringham's motion sensors and perimeter checks. William's new mandate ensures that this specific digital loophole is permanently closed. All biometric access codes linked to the Queen's private staff at the Norfolk estate have been wiped. Tom Parker Bowles, holding no royal title and carrying no official state duties, is now legally barred from independent entry to any royal property. While these constitutional adjustments are being enforced across the royal estates, the legal consequences are actively unfolding in London. Right now, lead detectives from Scotland Yard are questioning Tom Parker Bowles inside a secure facility. He is facing serious inquiries under the 2005 Serious Organised Crime and Police Act. The ongoing interrogation focuses heavily on the physical evidence seized at the Sandringham West Wing by Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Thompson. This evidence includes forged authorization papers bearing counterfeit cryptographic seals, as well as high-capacity solid-state drives containing unauthorized, high-resolution scans of the King's private collection. Investigators are currently tracing digital communication logs to determine the full extent of the planned commercial operation and to identify any international consortiums that may have contracted the operation. This decisive morning marks a visible separation in how the royal households are currently operating. Buckingham Palace has remained remarkably quiet, issuing no counter-statements and cancelling several of the Queen's scheduled appearances for the upcoming week. Kensington Palace, under William's direct command, has assumed total control of the crisis management and the security narrative. The message broadcasted to the public, the British government, and the wider royal family is uncompromising. The protection of historical artifacts and the sovereign's private sanctuary completely outweighs any familial deference. The legal situation is developing rapidly as police continue their forensic analysis of the seized production equipment and financial records. To get the verified updates and understand the complete timeline of the Sandringham security breach, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications immediately. We are tracking every legal maneuver and royal development as this constitutional crisis escalates. Now, To comprehend exactly how the Prince of Wales managed to corner and dismantle the Parker Bowles operation so quickly today, we have to look at the exact timeline of the physical breach that forced his hand. You might assume that one of the most heavily guarded private estates in the world would be impenetrable. Standard logic suggests that a royal fortress, protected by elite guards and state-of-the-art surveillance, cannot simply be walked into in the middle of the night. But physical security means very little when the intruder is already holding the digital keys provided directly by the Queen's own office. At exactly 2:25 in the morning on the 14th of May, the Sandringham estate was shrouded in complete silence. Spanning 8,000 hectares of pristine Norfolk countryside, this property is carefully managed to be the ultimate sanctuary for the sovereign. The heavy sea fog rolling off the coast usually provides a natural, comforting layer of isolation. Yet, on this specific night, it was precisely this deep seclusion that was weaponized to mask a highly coordinated breach into the king's private heartland. Moving silently along the private woodland tracks toward the highly restricted West Wing was a convoy of 3 unmarked, heavy-duty production vans. They did not trigger the outer perimeter alarms. They seamlessly bypassed the standard security checkpoints. To the few night guards monitoring the digital entry logs, the vehicles were falsely flagged as a pre-approved emergency architectural audit. But what arrived at the historic courtyard was not a team of structural engineers looking to inspect the masonry. When the convoy was finally intercepted and an immediate tactical vehicle search was ordered, the true nature of the midnight operation was exposed. The interiors of these vans were not filled with standard lighting rigs or regular television broadcast cameras. Instead, the security team uncovered specialized logistics equipment designed specifically for high-value asset extraction. Investigators found industrial vacuum-sealed transport cases stacked neatly near the back doors. They discovered massive rolls of professional-grade archival foam, the exact temperature-controlled material used by elite museums to securely transport fragile antiquities. Alongside the high-end packing materials, the search team secured highly advanced 3D scanning equipment. This was a clinical forensic setup designed to rapidly pack and digitize items before the sun even came up. The scale of the intended extraction became glaringly clear when investigators matched the operation's staging area with the estate's internal heritage inventory. The targets were not random valuables. They were specific, irreplaceable pieces of British history. Among the items already removed from their display cabinets and meticulously prepared for the transport crates were 3 original Victorian-era oil sketches. Right beside them sat an entire collection of priceless silver-gilt dinnerware, deeply engraved with the private cipher of Queen Alexandra. However, the most alarming discovery was located within the operational parameters of the scanning team. The high-tech equipment was specifically calibrated to capture the exact millimeter-perfect dimensions and delicate fabric patterns of historic royal wedding dresses, which are carefully preserved within the estate's climate-controlled archives. The objective was not merely the physical theft of silver and canvas. It was the unauthorized digitization and replication of the Crown's most iconic and intimate historical garments. Intelligence suggests these highly sensitive digital blueprints were allegedly destined to be sold to private, international fashion consortiums for a staggering premium. This was far from a clumsy break-in or a simple media stunt. It was a sophisticated, high-end, asset-stripping operation orchestrated right inside the king's private living quarters. The crates were open, the artifacts were wrapped, and the digital scanners were fully powered on. But to execute an infiltration of this massive scale without triggering a single motion sensor, the intruders needed more than just a convincing disguise. They required an invisible pathway through the estate's impenetrable security grid. It is easy to look at Tom Parker Bowles as merely an opportunistic amateur, chasing a lucrative payday. However, a logistical operation of this precise magnitude simply cannot be executed by an outsider. The person who actually created that 3-hour security blind spot, the individual who quietly opened the gates to Sandringham, was sleeping in the most prestigious residence in the United Kingdom. By 8 o'clock the following morning, on the 15th of May, the focus of the intense investigation shifted from the physical courtyard to the digital network. Inside a secure operations room, Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Thompson initiated the meticulous process of decrypting the high-speed solid-state drives seized from the production vans. What his cyber team uncovered was not just a map of the royal estate, but a step-by-step digital trail of a highly sophisticated inside job. Sandringham's security infrastructure is designed to be virtually impenetrable. It relies on an advanced web of motion sensors, thermal cameras, and automated perimeter alarms that monitor every inch of the grounds. Yet the data logs revealed that these defenses were not hacked, broken, or forcefully breached by an external threat. They were simply asked to stand down. Thompson discovered a sequence of administrative overrides executed flawlessly just hours before the vans arrived. These overrides specifically whitelisted the license plates of the unmarked vehicles and deactivated the camera feeds along the West Wing perimeter. The crucial piece of evidence, however, was the authorization method. These system overrides were approved using highly classified biometric authentication codes. When the military cyber unit traced the origin of these specific digital signatures, the signal did not bounce across international servers or point to a remote hacker. The trace pointed directly and undeniably to a private administrative terminal located inside Queen Camilla's personal suite at Buckingham Palace. But disabling the electronic cameras was only half the battle. To ensure the physical patrol units of the King's Guard did not accidentally stumble upon the vans, the operation required a massive, coordinated diversion. This is where the true sophistication of the breach becomes apparent. Investigators found that the royal family's internal scheduling network, the framework that feeds into the highly restricted court circular, had been actively manipulated. The court circular serves as the absolute source of truth for royal movements and daily security deployments. Tampering with it requires a level of access granted to only a handful of senior aides. The perpetrators had expertly planted what intelligence officers refer to as ghost entries. They inserted fake, high-priority security sweeps and routine maintenance tasks on the complete opposite side of the 8,000-hectare property. To the guards on duty, these orders looked entirely legitimate, bearing the correct departmental codes and administrative timestamps. This calculated digital manipulation effectively drew every active patrol unit away from the West Wing. It created a massive, undisturbed geographical pocket, allowing the extraction team to work in complete silence without fear of interruption. The realization hitting the investigation team was profound. This was a catastrophic failure of internal trust. The very credentials designed to protect the sovereign had been leveraged to facilitate a commercial heist. The digital fingerprints left behind proved that the threat did not breach the walls from the outside. It was granted priority access from within. But even with the cameras blinded, the alarms muted, and the royal guards successfully diverted to the other side of the estate, this flawless digital shadow operation failed to account for one crucial, unexpected human element remaining on the ground. When the highest authority issues a compromised command, true loyalty is defined by the courage to say no. And that is exactly what unfolded in the historic courtyard at 15 minutes past 3 in the morning. Despite the meticulous digital blackout and the manipulated patrol routes designed to keep the estate clear, the operation failed to account for one critical variable: James, the 18-year-old Earl of Wessex. Spending time at the Norfolk property to oversee agricultural projects, a quiet dedication he inherited from his late grandfather James, possessed an intimate understanding of Sandringham's natural rhythms. The heavy, unnatural, mechanical hum of 3 large production vans moving toward a closed architectural wing immediately caught his attention. Recognizing the severe irregularity of the situation and instantly suspecting that the local estate office might be compromised, the young Earl made a tactical decision that changed the course of the night. He did not alert the standard civilian security desk. Instead, he bypassed the internal palace networks entirely. Utilizing a secure, highly encrypted military channel, James directly contacted Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Thompson, the equerry known worldwide as Prince William's most trusted enforcer on the ground. When Thompson and a select, heavily armed detachment of the King's Guard arrived at the West Wing, the reality of the scene was staggering. Confronted by the sudden military presence, Tom Parker Bowles realized his counterfeit authorization papers and digital loopholes were entirely useless against physical force. As the guards moved to secure the priceless artifacts and the scanning equipment, Tom resorted to his final, most powerful maneuver. In a moment of visible desperation, he initiated an emergency, high-priority video call. Through the harsh, amplified speakers of the van's communication system, a highly recognizable voice echoed across the cold courtyard. It was Queen Camilla. The Queen Consort did not attempt to offer a legal justification, nor did she try to explain away the presence of the extraction crates. Instead, she issued a direct, uncompromising royal command. She explicitly ordered the soldiers to stand down, stating clearly that her son had her personal blessing to be on the premises and instructing the military personnel to return to their posts immediately. For a few tense seconds, the immense weight of the royal hierarchy hung heavily in the freezing night air. A direct, verbal order from the Queen Consort is traditionally an absolute mandate, demanding instant and unquestioning obedience from any soldier. But Lieutenant Colonel Thompson represents a rigid, uncompromising new era of royal protection. He did not hesitate, he did not lower his gaze, and he certainly did not bow. Stepping firmly forward, Thompson reached out and physically severed the connection, cutting the Queen's commanding voice off mid-sentence. The silence that followed was deafening. Looking directly into the eyes of the Queen's son, the lieutenant colonel delivered a statement that firmly re-established the boundaries of the monarchy. "Sir," Thompson stated, his voice steady and sharp, "my oath of allegiance is to the sovereign and the Constitution, not to a private interest." Without waiting for a response, he commanded his men to place Tom under immediate military detention. Working in seamless coordination with the young Earl of Wessex, Thompson then initiated a catastrophic security protocol. They established a total, impenetrable ring of steel around the property. Every single exit was barricaded, and military-grade signal jammers were instantly deployed across the entire 8,000-hectare estate. No vehicle was allowed to move, and absolutely no electronic communication was permitted to leave the grounds. They had successfully neutralized the immediate threat, completely isolating the infiltration team from their high-level protection in London and setting the stage for the arrival of the ultimate authority. The perceived untouchability of the Parker Bowles family evaporated the moment the heavy rotor blades of a Sikorsky S-76 helicopter cut through the Norfolk sky. The Prince of Wales had arrived. At exactly 11:15 in the morning on the 14th of May, the aircraft touched down on the estate's private helipad. As William stepped onto the gravel, the atmosphere at Sandringham immediately shifted into an eerie, heavy silence. The tactical containment phase of the morning was over. The constitutional reckoning had officially begun. Walking purposefully toward the West Wing courtyard, the future king surveyed a scene that resembled a secured forensic site rather than a peaceful country retreat. He took a brief, calculating look at the confiscated high-tech scanners, the rolls of archival foam, and the specialized transport crates. When Tom Parker Bowles attempted to step forward, visibly eager to explain the situation away as a simple administrative misunderstanding or an overzealous media project, William did not engage. He did not raise his voice, nor did he offer a single familial pleasantry. He simply raised one hand, demanding absolute silence. It was a gesture that effectively shut down any possibility of a backdoor negotiation or maternal intervention. This was the exact moment the protective shield of the royal establishment was permanently dropped. William immediately directed his security detail to hand the suspect over to the royalty and diplomatic protection squad of the Metropolitan Police. Waiting just outside the estate gates, specialised officers from Scotland Yard moved in to take formal physical custody. Tom was promptly escorted off the property, facing severe and immediate inquiries under the strict provisions of the 2005 Serious Organised Crime and Police Act. By classifying the midnight intrusion as a matter of national security rather than a private household dispute, William systematically ensured that the ongoing investigation would remain completely out of the reach of Queen Camilla's inner circle. With the primary suspect removed from the premises, the Prince of Wales initiated a sweeping internal lockdown. He ordered the total confiscation of all electronic devices, cameras, and hard drives belonging to the production crew, ensuring the digital chain of evidence remained unbroken for the police. More importantly, William established a strict, unprecedented information blockade directed specifically at Buckingham Palace. He mandated that no security briefings, no digital logs, and no status updates were permitted to be shared with the Queen Consort's office. The communication channels that usually bound the royal households together were abruptly and intentionally severed. Sandringham was now operating under the exclusive, unilateral command of Kensington Palace. The sheer gravity of these ground-level actions set the stage for an explosive confrontation behind closed doors. By 6 o'clock in the evening on the 15th of May, the tension moved from the damp grounds of Norfolk to the highly secure private drawing rooms of Windsor Castle. William convened a highly classified, urgent meeting with King Charles. The senior aides who typically managed the Queen Consort's daily affairs were explicitly barred from entering the corridor. During this intense, private briefing, William laid out the raw, unedited forensic data collected by his team. He presented the forged authorization papers, the intercepted digital overrides, and the undeniable audio reports from the courtyard. The evidence of a coordinated inside job was absolute. It was this exact closed-door confrontation that served as the catalyst for the public shockwave we witnessed this morning. It was the definitive moment the Prince of Wales made it clear to the sovereign that the era of quiet compromises was over, leading directly to the uncompromising public sanctions he broadcasted to the world just hours ago. The Prince of Wales has made his move. He has delivered an uncompromising public decree that permanently alters the balance of power within the institution. William has decisively taken control of the security narrative and drawn a firm line to protect the heritage of the crown. Yet, despite this swift executive action, the ultimate resolution to this unprecedented crisis rests entirely in the hands of the one person who has yet to speak a single public word, King Charles. Behind the heavy, historic doors of Buckingham Palace, the reigning monarch is facing an impossible personal and constitutional dilemma. For decades, Charles fought a relentless, highly publicized battle to bring Camilla to his side, eventually securing her rightful place as Queen Consort. She is the partner he has stood by through endless controversies and intense public scrutiny. Now, in the twilight of his reign, he is forced to watch her son face severe criminal inquiries, while her own private office is directly implicated in a massive coordinated security breach. On the exact opposite side of this deepening divide stands his eldest son and direct heir. William is not acting out of personal malice or ambition. He is rigorously defending the very institution that Charles is sworn to protect. The king is caught precisely between his absolute duty to the crown and his profound, lifelong loyalty to his wife. He must now make a definitive choice. Does he support the future king who is actively securing the physical and historical legacy of the monarchy, or does he attempt to quietly utilize his remaining influence to shield the extended family of the woman he loves? The consequences of this impending decision will ripple far beyond the palace gates. For generations, the royal family has relied heavily on the carefully maintained illusion of a unified, impenetrable institution. But the midnight events at Sandringham have pulled back that velvet curtain. exposing a deeply vulnerable reality to the global public. How does an ancient institution maintain its elevated prestige when the most sophisticated threat comes not from aggressive tabloids or external critics, but from a logistical operation utilizing the Queen's own administrative network? The trust of the British public is a fragile commodity, and watching these severe internal fractures spill out into an active, high-level police investigation changes how the modern monarchy is perceived forever. As the king silently weighs his next critical move, the legal machinery in London is rapidly accelerating. Scotland Yard detectives are no longer just looking at the physical scanners and archival crates left behind in the Norfolk courtyard. They are currently examining a highly sensitive piece of evidence, a seized leather briefcase belonging directly to Tom Parker Bowles. Intelligence sources indicate that hidden inside this briefcase is a meticulously detailed registry of high-profile contacts, luxury brokers, and elite international collectors who were allegedly prepared to purchase the digitized blueprints of the royal heritage. The sheer scope of this intended transaction suggests a financial network that reaches far beyond a single ambitious individual. Are major international syndicates actively involved in this attempted heritage extraction? How deep does the offshore financial trail actually go? And, most importantly, as the legal pressure reaches a boiling point inside that secure London interrogation room, who will Tom Parker Bowles choose to implicate in his very first official statement? The answers are currently locked inside an evidence room, and the true fallout is only just beginning. Stay tuned as we prepare to open the next classified file in this rapidly developing crisis.